Hi, Andrew from SACS, and this is video number 10 in our 11 video sequence on cognitive ability, otherwise known as personal intelligence. And in this one, we're talking about the very interesting topic of cheating. We'll talk about how commonly this happens and also what can be done to minimise cheating. So firstly, how common is it to cheat? Well, actually, a number of studies have demonstrated, and this particular study by Arthur and colleagues demonstrates that in fact cheating in psych testing is relatively rare. It's not the sort of thing that everybody does, and estimates put it at very small percentages. So if you test in a general sense, you can rely on the vast majority of the psych test results that you get in respect of cognitive ability. However, there are a number of things that can be done to minimise cheating. And the first is a thing called moral suasion. Now, believe it or not, moral suasion is building into your communication things like only bad people cheat at psych tests or good people don't cheat at psych tests. And phenomenally, perhaps, that actually reduces the amount of cheating that goes on. When people use moral suasion in their invitations, it actually reduces the amount of cheating. It doesn't reduce it to zero. But the second thing that you might consider doing is we will check. So the idea of we will check is that you've got your moral suasion that says something like only bad people cheat on psych tests, but also we're going to check every so often to see whether people are doing this honestly. And so don't be surprised if we're in touch with you and we ask you to reset, and maybe we're going to ask you to reset in an environment where you'll be watched either physically or by computer to see whether it's actually you who's completing the test and whether you're doing that with the benefit of any assistance. And that's what we call invigilation. Now, invigilation, otherwise known as proctoring, comes in two forms. Human invigilation. So human invigilation is largely effective, it's very expensive, and it's extremely inconvenient. How human invigilation is done is that you would typically invite people to either a Zoom room and you'd watch them as they're completing their psych tests, or you may actually get them to come to an actual physical location. There are a number of testing setups around the world where people can be tested in large numbers. So if you've got a high stakes environment, that's what you might do. High stakes being this person's got to be very honest, or maybe they're a police officer, or maybe it's an extremely critical job or something like that. You can use invigilation. Most people don't because it's very expensive. The alternative is AI invigilation or digital invigilation, and that's where the video camera would watch the candidate's eyes. There would be a monitoring and restricting of computer activity, which might limit the capacity to open other windows or to interact with other software. You might listen to the candidate, so that means that the candidate's microphone is turned on, and you record all of that and you run it through a computer algorithm. Now, this is relatively new stuff, but early indications suggest that it's at least as effective as any of the other methods that we've mentioned so far, and of course, much less grief and trouble to run. So the next video in this sequence, and the last, will be what results look like, and we'll actually show you some psych test results so you'll have a chance to see how they're reported. So that's about cheating and invigilation. Rare, but does happen, and I guess the criticality of the role is something that would cause you to decide how and in what form you would want to invigilate. The vast majority, probably 99% of psych tests around the world, are not invigilated, they're just simply online, but it's becoming easier with the use of technology to invigilate. To find out what psych test results look like, click on the link near this video and we'll join you in the next one.